Welcome to the 1878 FM podcast. The band is back. The boys are all back together. And what a day for it. It is about episode 17. Happy New Year to everybody. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.
What a start. What a cracker.
If we just rewound 12 months, we'd lost to Brighton then as well, the first game.
Can we go back like a few weeks when the World Cup was on and it was just the greatest time of my life. It was just beautiful. Welcome.
It was just a great time.
But here's the thing though.
Go on, Dave.
Is that, if it weren't for last night, is that we ended what was an awful 2022, and we all said this last time. 2022 was dreadful, in most of our lives for various different things. But we actually ended on a positive. And that much unexpected draw that we got against City, and I thought, maybe this is a new dawn. Maybe this is changes are coming. It's going to be 2023. We're going to see more of Bush, so to speak. That came out wrong, but you know what I mean. And also results would go better, and then suddenly, just
after the City game, I had this feel, and I've backed Frank. I have. He makes some horrific decisions at times and all that. But I had the feeling after the City game, when you're just thinking about games and you're going, where did that come from? And can we get momentum? And then I just thought, remember us getting a draw at Chelsea last December and thinking, right, okay, they were doing well and we went there and we dug in and we got a point.
So we played the kids as well, didn't we? And we didn't expect to get anything and put the kids out, and actually they did really well.
They did well, and then we had Brighton at home in the next game. We lost, and it's you just go, how can 12 months in which a period in which I think we got 35 points in a calendar year, which is utterly atrocious. We're back where we are, and I don't want to lay this all on Frank Lampard. He got it wrong last night. He made his decision making last night was shocking for me. To change from a back three that had done so well at Man City to go to that side that he put out last night. I get he had to change Onana. We know that he was suspended, but to change the team the way he did, and then to not even address it at half time, I think was awful by Frank Lampard. But let's have this right, Andy Bush. This isn't all on Frank Lampard, though, is it?
Do you know what? Someone on Twitter, a fellow Evertonian on Twitter this morning, described it eloquently as a triangle of shite. Everton's a triangle of shite.
No, I'm not having this.
What he's done.
I copyrighted Circle of Shite
about
many years ago. This is. See, Baz knows. You'll give me the plaudits.
Ped, you can't have international copyright ownership rights over.
No, it's not
international.
It's not international.
It only goes as far as Runcorn.
Yeah, it's just Everton. It's just Everton. It's just an Everton circle of shite. I said this. It's what happens all the time. Manager comes in, he's not very good because he's appointed by awful people. He buys dreadful people because of the people in the background. We get beat, he gets sacked, it goes again. That's the circle of shite. Trademark 2015. Thank you very much.
Back to you, Mr. Buss. Unless you're going to get a protractor out or a compass and start quoting other geometrical stuff. Back to
I don't argue with the circle of shite. That is a thing. The triangle of shite, as far as the Evertonian this morning on Twitter was saying, it's the three sides. It's the board who are culpable. Frank, let's be honest, we love him. He's a lovely guy, but tactically, he's not quite there. And then the players need to have a proper look at themselves as well. So you look at it, three sides. It's not one particular cure for this. There's three things contributing to the triangle of shite, which I think then fuels the circle of shite. Copyright, Ped.
Okay, that's fair. Thank you.
But Dave, there is something in that, isn't that? Is that we've had. I think it's 7. We'll be on our 8th permanent manager since Mashiri come in, or certainly since he bought the club. I think Martinez is always included in that. Has every one of them been wrong? Are we doing things? Have we just not done things correctly? And is it anyone surprised that we can't score goals when we did all sit here when the window shut and said we needed another striker?
Did we not describe, was the analogy not the Boxing Day scenario whereby they're literally stood outside the door of the for sale shop right, for a striker, knowing exactly what they're after, in the same way that if I'm going to the next sale on Boxing Day, which I never do, by the way, but I know people that do. I've got better things to do, right? But they know exactly that they want to go in and they want to get that jacket in a medium, whatever, long, and they've got it all sorted out. They've been in there the day before. They know exactly. They're straight in, they get it, and they're straight out again. That's what we needed to do with the transfer window.
Yeah.
We all said that, and already now, I mean, I think, Baz, was it not you that said last night on our WhatsApp group the fact that, because he had Price on there, and he also had Ellis Sims on there, was this in many ways a statement of, to everybody, the fact that he needs help and he needs backup? And actually, I thought Isaac Price did all right when he came on last night, but is it not sort of saying the fact that he desperately needs reinforcements? Because, and already here we are at the time of recording, it's the 4th of Jan. We've already missed days where we should have actually been spending money. We could have actually done our business already. It could have literally been a case of actually having the whole deal done, subject to bloody checking out your basket on New Year's Day, and then we're done. But here, what's going to happen is that we're going to get to the end of January and we'll have absolutely nothing again. And we're going to go into what is undoubtedly going to be a worse situation than we found ourselves in last season, which we only just managed to escape by the skin of our teeth. And the reason being that actually our squad and our team is actually weaker now than it was this time last year, without a doubt.
Yep. 100%. I mean, like we said it before, like if you can have a scare like last season, which had a traumatic effect on all of us, and then you don't take steps to make sure that never happens again, and then you find yourself in the same situation, that you've only got yourself to blame. And that's why I feel quite differently about the malaise compared to last year. Was like a real shock, and it's like, oh my god, we could possibly go down. Now I just think, I don't think fuck them, but I just think we've only got ourselves to blame. Do you know what I mean?
No, you're right, Andy. I mean, I'll be honest, I don't think like that. I felt like this for like 4 years. Like every year for 4 years, I felt like we were going to get relegated. It just felt like it was inevitable to me. I don't know why. It just did. And it's maybe because I am a pessimist, but it just feels like that. It feels like if you don't change something, but I don't think it really matters this year. I don't think it doesn't matter who we buy or what we change. As far as I'm concerned, the people who run the football club will get it wrong again. They'll bring some journeyman striker in or some kid in too late, like almost like last season with not bringing up. I mean, last season we had 2 weeks. We fluffed about for a couple of days trying to get Martinez, which was never going to happen, and no one wanted him. Then we waited 2 weeks. Then we brought Frank Lampard in, who, quite frankly, I thought was very unqualified for the job, for what we actually needed in terms of where we were. And then we, again, deadline day, bringing in people like Dele Alli and Donny van der Beek. I mean, because they're really the kind of people you need in a fight, aren't they? Donny van der Beek, for God's sake. I mean, you know what I mean? I'm not. It's all in hindsight, but they're not exactly players that you go, they're going to do an amazing job for us and save Everton. We got out by the scruff of our neck, and what happened? Nothing. Everyone just sort of sat there smiling and went, "Oh, this is good, wasn't it?" I'll be honest with you, lads. Every time I see someone on Twitter put the video of the Crystal Palace game, a little bit of me dies inside. It's like, why are you all glorifying this absolutely horrendous night where the club once again survived, and you're making it out like it was amazing, where for years we've been the brunt of like so much laughter because of DVDs of The Great Escape and all that kind of thing. Wimbledon, it's like, why have we got such low expectations, and why have we accepted it for so long?
It's been
conditioned. We've been conditioned.
Yeah, it's been conditioned. We've managed our expectations down.
To go back to Baz, to your question before, in so much as have all these managers been wrong, or have all these managers, they can't all have got it completely wrong, and we're talking about a lot of very qualified people. Some you may prefer style-wise, tactically, etc., to others, but ultimately we're talking about a lot of people who are very qualified in the game, right? And not one of them has been able to make it work. And so therefore you would have to side with what Ped is clearly saying, and what many people are clearly saying, that actually the root problem goes far beyond the tenure of manager who happens to be in at any particular point in time, for his given 18 months or a year or whatever that period of time is, which is a very small period of time on the whole grand scheme of things. But all that considered, and otherwise we perpetuate the circle of shite or the triangle of shite, or whatever we want to call it, because in my opinion, and it may be unpopular, but in my opinion personally, I think that the worst thing we could possibly do now is chop Frank Lampard. Genuinely,
I don't know. I think he's done, Dave. I don't think they're not playing for him. Are they?
I get that, Andy, but personally, listen, this is what these discussions are all about, right? We're not intended to. And by the way, this isn't some bullshit kind of set up radio thing whereby, right, you argue this, that, so that it's more interesting, and then give us a call and text in and let us know what you think. Right? That's bollocks. We haven't discussed this before we come on. This is my own personal opinion. I think that the last thing we should do is get rid of Frank Lampard at this moment in time, because, as we all agree, the problems go far beyond him. They're historic, and I think the issue is, what is the alternative? And that's my question to you, Andy, is that if I felt that there was a viable and decent and better alternative out there waiting in the wings who could swoop in and could save us, because ultimately Premier League survival is the only thing that's actually important here. Right? That's the only thing at this period in time.
100%.
Right? Forget about playing nice football or whatever, or what we're going to look like.
Those days are behind us, I think, aren't they? To be honest,
but
for now,
never had those days.
No, but for now,
just about survival for now. But I can't see anybody who's actually going to give us a better situation within the whole rotten framework that exists at the moment, and that is my issue.
Yeah, I agree with you. I mean, I don't want to be, I love Frank Lampard, and I am eternally grateful for him. He did save us last season, and I agree with Ped. It's embarrassing when people put up the videos and stuff of the Palace game, because it's like, that's not, we need to be moving on from that. That should be like a close call. That's like having a video of nearly getting taken out by a train on a level crossing.
Absolutely, it's not something you boast about, is it?
Not at all. But the thing that's changed for me just a little bit with Frank is I just feel like they're not. He doesn't quite have a clear grasp of how to get out of this situation. I just worry that they've given up playing for him a little bit as well. And I just feel like there's something has just changed a little bit in it, and I don't know what that is, and that's why I feel like I do today.
No, I think, Andy, I think you're right. I mean, I sort of agree with both of you. I agree with Dave, because ultimately, again, it's just you're pointing the finger almost at the wrong person completely.
No, I agree.
You know what I mean? But I agree with you, Andy. It's like, well, the only thing that does matter is surviving. But I've had this argument before where, like, in the past, where, like, last season at the Arsenal game, where the fans were doing protesting and stuff like that, and people were like, oh, you can't leave your seat because it's about winning this game. And it's like, yeah, but you have to cut out the issue at the club. It's like, it's not about one game, and it mightn't even be about relegation this year, because ultimately there's a bigger problem at Everton. But Andy, I agree with what you've just said, because Frank Lampard's got it into his head at some point at the beginning of the season that actually what we did at the end of last season is the wrong way to play, and the way he wants to play, it can't be done with these players. And I think we saw that last night. We saw last night a very well-coached side come to Goodison, not get out of second gear, by the way. They just rolled round Goodison last night, and that's what really pissed people off. And you saw this Everton team that just didn't have a clue how to play, and they've been playing that way all season, and they've had 6 weeks off to try and get something out of it. And on Saturday, we showed how we play. That's Everton for me, under Frank Lampard. That's a battling tough side. That's why you've got Conor Cody. That's why you've got James Tarkowski. That's why you have Ben Godfrey for the intensity, to wind people up. You have Damari Gray. His skill set is playing on the counter-attack, not stuck out on the wing. And he changes it within 2 days, and he puts in dross like McNeil and bless him, Tom Davis, who I think maybe should just go into skateboarding now full time. It's
what
I
would say is I agree with both of it, and I know exactly what Andy's saying as well. It's like, that's what I'm trying to say. I always remember, it was Chris actually, and I've said this before, from the Redmen, and I was talking about, I think it might have been Marco Silva, who I.
Love.
That I
still
thought,
love very much.
I do still love, mate. Fulham are great.
You've got the tattoo.
Yeah. No, but I think Marco...
I mean, it looks like Tony Stark.
I think Marco's a good coach and he's doing really well. But I remember having a chat with Chris and he was like, the problem is like there's backing your manager and saying we're not sacking him. And there's also leaving the wrong manager in place just because you like him. And it was like, you know, I think the truth is somewhere in between there. I do like Frank. I think he tries to get us. I think he wants to do well. But that decision making, if he'd have just gone in the summer, we play 4-3-3, and this is how we play, and we play it every week, and we can all sit there and go, this is how he plays. Like Martinez, I was done with Martinez after about 18 months. I hated Everton under Martinez. They were terrible to watch for me, right? But I could sit there and go, this is Roberto Martinez's team. If someone said to me, how do Everton play under Martinez, I could say, well, dead easy. We have 800 passes. They knock it around the back. They dominate the possession. I think we only lost the possession about 4 times under Martinez, but we never won, right? But if someone said to me, how do Everton play under Frank Lampard, I honestly couldn't tell you what we're trying to do. And I don't know whether that's all on him or it's the mismanagement of the football club by the board, or if it's just the chain of average players that Everton have managed to buy. It's probably going back to the triangle of shite, all of it mixed together. But I want the manager to go, this is what we do. On Saturday, 3 at the back or 5 at the back, sound. They played against one of the best teams in world football and limited them to 3 attempts at goal, really. 3 proper, genuine attempts at goal. And he changes it a couple of days later against Brighton at Goodison. Brighton are a good side, but they'd lost 2 games less than Everton before last night. 2. And we're sat here saying we're terrible. They'd lost 6, we'd lost 8. And yet, he changes the whole thing, Dave.
But I go back to something you said before, in so much as you mentioned getting rid of the wrong man. Right, or the wrong manager, or however you phrased it.
I said keeping the wrong man in place too long.
Keeping the wrong man in place. There you go. If I'm going to quote you, I should at least get it right.
Because they do change.
All I got there was, we know what we're saying, right? It's the wrong person.
And I'm not saying Frank Lampard is definitely the wrong person.
No. And I'm not. Yeah. But herein lies the absurdity with the situation that we find ourselves in under Moshiri, is that, you know, you get rid of what might be the wrong man in charge and bring in someone else, right? Who then turns out to be the wrong man in charge. So then we bring someone else in who's completely different, who then turns out to be the wrong man in charge, and so on and so on and so on, right? Because ultimately, it's like one of those things, you know, when you've got like 2 mirrors sort of against each other and it's just this never-ending corridor of shite, right? That's what we're talking about here.
Ed actually came up with corridor of shite back in 2000.
I'll be honest, I didn't do that. That's not one of mine.
That's Dave Vitti.
That sounds like something out of the Matrix, doesn't it?
Shite I saw at the Brixton Academy back in 2011.
To be fair, he was supported by Tiny Temper.
Tiny Temper. No, Dave, you're
on the way to Scunthorpe.
Yeah. But you know, do you know what I mean though? Whereby it's becoming a thankless task. It's becoming an absolutely thankless task.
But Dave, right? And you want your gentleman's opinion on this, like rather than me and Ped. But we seen a team last night that cost around the same amount of money as what Alex Iwobi. I'm not singling Alex Iwobi out; he's been good under Lampard. I just mean that team was put together. For roughly the same amount of money as what Alex Iwobi was. And as Ped said before, they strolled around Goodison Park. They decided at 4 it was done. If they'd have just gone, no, we're carrying on, they would have scored 7 or 8.
Easily.
Right?
They needed it for their goal difference. They could have got it.
They could have, right? And they just, but that is a result of planning. They lost Graham Potter in September, who had built that thing with Graham Barber and some other really good people at Brighton. They built this thing. They buy players from all over the world. They don't go, as he played 20 games in the Premier League, they just buy them. Casido, 5 million quid, strolled around the pitch last night, 5 million quid, strolled. They had an 18-year-old up front who bullied us, a kid.
He looked great, didn't he, that Ferguson lad?
Right? Yeah. There was loads of them. Matoma, 4 million quid. The kid off the left scored the first goal. Right, and what they did
was should have scored before that as well.
They should have. But they lost Potter, and they went right. What manager plays a similar attacking way as Graham Potter? So they got the Sassuolo fella, De Zerbi, and he comes in and he goes, "Oh, this is exactly like I play anyway." So this just carries on. So now it looks like he's been the manager of Brighton for 5 years. But what I'm saying to you guys is, there's no evidence of that at Everton, is that there's no one through line. There's no, we play 4-3-3 with fast wingers and you get goals and an attacker.
That's like, Richie, the guy who's the show with on Absolute, is an Arsenal fan, and with Edu, they've got a target way of playing football, the process that Arteta kept going on about, and that's the way they play. So even if Arteta got sacked, the vision is instated by Edu. That's the way they want to play, and they'll bring in a manager that plays that kind of football, and then you're all heading towards one way, and that will go back to alleviating the problem that Dave was talking about, where you get someone in. Manager, different way of playing, new backroom staff, that goes to shit. Get rid of him, different way of playing. And we've talked about this before on the podcast. So it's like, why can't we have that? I mean, you remember when we first got Marco Silva, I remember being excited about all I've ever wanted Everton to be post the Moyes era is going back to being kind of fast, powerful, counter-attacking, not soft as shite like we are at the moment. Teams terrified of playing us. Not particularly extravagant, but just get the job done. And I thought getting them Silver in from Hull would bring a bit of the way Hull used to play under him. And we've not managed to get anything like that since.
Going back to the point on that is that when Silva was sacked, and this is probably where it started, when Silva was sacked, he wasn't sacked by Marcel Brands. Marcel Brands wanted to keep him. He was sacked again by the hierarchy. And that's what's going to be interesting with the Frank Lampard situation is that if he gets sacked, who sacks him? Does a fella who doesn't ever come to a game sack him? Does a fella who got off last night at 2-0 sack him? Does Kevin Thelwell, the director of football, sack him and then be allowed to bring in whoever he wants to be? Because
this is the problem. Do you remember there was that clip that somebody had off a phone in the main stand by the director's box, and basically you had Marcel Brands, and he was
after the derby, wasn't it?
He was getting pilloried by the fans, and he just turned around and kind of goes, "Do you think it's just me?
Yeah.
Do you think it's me?
Yeah."
I mean, and that was
the biggest one, wasn't it?
That was so telling, wasn't it?
We've had today Alan Stubbs, former Everton defender, having a go at the club and has had to go at the chairman and said he stops giving me tickets now because I've criticised the football club. He won't let me go to games and blah, blah, blah. We've had other ex-players in the past. At the greatest goalkeeper we've ever had, the greatest goalie the world's ever seen, buys tickets to go to the game because Everton don't give them. That fella should have a statue. A bleeding lounge named after him and should be a VIP every time he wants to come to Goodison. But he doesn't. He pays for his match ticket and he sits in the park end with Evertonians. Because he dared to question our football club. And therefore, for me, I don't understand in 2023 how you can operate like that. I think what I would say, right, very quickly on this, and I'll ask you guys for this as well, but what I would say is if any other part of our football club was performing the way our board and owner have, would it still be in place at Everton after 7 years?
No, not at all.
Well, I mean, in most normal situations, no. I mean, knowing Everton, then
we've had eight managers, so someone took the blame.
No, I mean, it's just incompetent. And
the goal last night with the back pass from Idrissa Gueye, the entire sequence of play tells you everything you need to know about this team at the moment. It's just absolute, like, fucking clowning at the highest level. It's just awful. And it's embarrassing. We're going back to how we were last season. We're turning into a laughing stock again. I can sense Paddy Power getting ready to do a stupid little skit or something.
But it'll get worse. It'll get worse, though, because Pickford will go in this window.
He may well do.
Pickford will go in this window because, especially given last night where, he's there and
I felt sorry. I'm not his biggest fan. He's a good goalie, but I felt sorry for him last night because he just left them exposed.
Absolutely, but you could see his expression. He's like, what do you want me to do with this, lads? Listen, I'll do my best.
Even apologize. Whether but he kind of like apologized.
Well, he's the captain, isn't he?
Yeah, he was like that at the street end at the end, as if like.
I think it gets worse. Do you know, just on a side issue, the one thing that baffles me with all of this, which I always saw as being a real strength with Frank, is the fact that with Paul Clement as well, I always sort of felt that we've effectively got two managers. We've got two I know Frank's not a hugely experienced manager, but with Clement behind, who's done big things at big places, I thought we've got 2 footballing brains here. So, and that's on top of the other coaching staff.
No, what worries me about him is that you don't hear anything from him ever. Ever.
It doesn't really worry me.
No, but what I mean is,
I know what you mean.
Sometimes for me,
Frank.
He should be seen.
No, but Frank doesn't want anyone to be seen as manager, and I've got no problem with that at all. By the way, Frank is very much his own man.
I did get a message from someone the other day about Paul Clement.
No, I watch and I like.
Isn't very complimentary.
I see all the, I watch all the press conferences afterwards, the ones that. We get all the press conferences that are for the press, not necessarily for the TV. And I watch his demeanour and how he comes across. And he's always very relaxed and he always talks very well. And he is very much takes all the responsibility.
No, he does,
And it just recently he started to talk a little bit like Martinez.
Yeah.
And he started to get a little bit defensive. And I understand why. But I still...
What, you mean the kind of thing where you feel like you've not seen the same game as him?
Yeah, 100%.
And I interviewed him in November and said one of the things I've kind of admired about your tenure is, in general, you've talked about the game the same way as we've seen it. I said, and I actually said to him, because when you're doing those press conferences, you ain't talking to the reporter, you're talking to us. And I heard him say at Wolves we were great.
Yeah.
I heard him say last night the first half was sound. No, but like it wasn't.
I don't want to have a go at him as such, but. And it must be really, really difficult. I watched the press conference.
He's raw, isn't he, as well? Don't forget.
And he was asked a couple of times about the chance, sack the board, and he just doesn't have an answer for it. And I know there's nothing he can say.
Would any manager really say?
No, I know there's not really say, and it's really a difficult one. But I always find like he's really. It's a weird one to how to get this across, but it's almost like he's really, really made up that he's been given this opportunity he is. And wouldn't dare question the people who give him it.
Because I think he wants this job and he wants it. He wants Frank Lampard. No matter whether people like him or don't like him and think he's great or they think he's terrible, the fella is desperate to succeed.
I understand that. I would never have a personal go at him for that.
We've won. The one thing I would say against everything else that I say, and I like him, and we've won 3 games of football and we've played 18 matches. And this isn't him just taking over in the summer and going, hang on, lads, let's let this develop.
Do you want to say, at no point we've been on... It's an element of control. At no point under Lampard, highs and lows, we've never been... Even the Palace game we've talked about a couple of times in this episode, we were all over the place in that game and we were staring down death's door at half-time. But at no point has it been like a controlled, measured performance or sequence of results. It's always been chaotic one performance following the other, and the two don't seem to be from the same team. It's completely different.
I still would say that the problems are not just...
No. We're
not here because of Frank Lampard.
I think this is one thing with all this talk. Ultimately, we are an absolutely terrible football team.
We are,
what you see on the pitch is dreadful. This team, by the way, is not underperforming. I disagree. It is dreadful. No. Listen, when you've got players like Dwight McNeil, Tom Davis, Decore, I don't think Alex Iwobi's actually that good. He just shouldn't be anywhere near that contract. Dominic Calvert-Lewin, who obviously is coming back from an injury, his replacements are woeful. We've got 2 of the slowest centre-backs in the league. But just listen. And we're trying to play a style that actually affects...
No, that's more of
the issue. I know, but that's what I'm saying. We are fundamentally a really poor... This is one thing where I think in other years where you go, we'll get out of this because we've got him, and him. Even if you go back to 98 and you look at the team and you go, it had Don Hutchinson, it had Nick Barmby in it, it had Duncan Ferguson in it. It was an underperforming team. I honestly look at this team and go, it's as bad as anything in the Premier League.
The only thing that gives me any kind of thing is...
I think we overhype our players so much.
Mate, I'm not, honestly. I look at it and I go, Saturday, if he played that way, I think he'd be all right. And I also look and see Forest, and I see West Ham, and I see Southampton, and I see what they're all terrible football.
But I think
Bournemouth.
I look at someone like West Ham and I go, they're massively underperforming.
Moyes will be sacked.
They're massively underperforming.
They'll get beat by Leeds tonight, and they're gone. He'll be gone, and then we'll see.
Should we knock this on the head and support Man City?
Possibly.
Have an easier life.
Or Wrexham.
I'd rather just have no footy. life without... I quite
it was
enjoyed
good,
that.
wasn't it?
Life
Well,
without
great.
footy, just having us four, just having chats about life would be great.
Mm.
I want to.
Yeah,
Dave has got. Let's move from footy because we've got to finish in a minute because Dave is busy. But he's got socks on the radio. I always think socks.
Can I just
on
say
the
this
radio
podcast is short because of Ned?
It is because
Let's just
of
leave
Ned.
that there.
We'll
No more needs to be said.
Sorry, I hadn't realised, but yeah, you're right. I do have socks drying on the radio.
But you've got Dave. You know, I like that. I like the fact we all do it.
You know, it's real life. You know, deal with it.
You must be doing well because you can put your radiators on.
Dave, I thought that was an office. I didn't realise it was a bed sit that you're in there.
Well, it is. It's my home office. But, you know, it's where lots of things happen here.
And that's tremendous. And that has led me on to...
I've just thought, next season, Dave and his podcast will be like the #1 place to hear about Everton stuff. Well, apart from Toffee TV, of course.
Obviously, yeah.
We'll have to have. There'll be synergy between this podcast and that podcast.
Yeah. How's that going to work?
How's
that going to work, Dave?
Listen. Talking about synergy and the world aligning, right, Peter? Listen to this, right? So last night, at half time during the game, I had to go over the road to where my sister and brother-in-law live. My brother-in-law's a doctor. I had to go over there for some minor surgery. And I'll tell you what it was, right? I managed to get a splinter in my finger when I was kind of like wiping down the surfaces, right? And I got a splinter in there and it hurt and I couldn't get it out. So I thought, I know, my brother-in-law, Dr. Mike, he'll get it out with a pair of tweezers because that's what you learn in medical school. Yeah. So I go over there and I sit in their kitchen, right? And I kid you not, do you know what I see in the corner? It's black. It's shiny. It's got lights on it. It's making a weird noise, and it looks really impressive. Do you know what it was, Ped? It was an air fryer, right? My brother-in-law got an air fryer for Christmas. But not just this. Do you know what I learned last night? Is it doesn't just fry. Apparently, it's the best way of cooking sausages. Yeah. Who knew, right? It doesn't just fry. He was doing rice in there. He's got water in there. He's got a steam setting.
Mate, I've told you.
My mum's got. To be fair, my mum's got all.
When I was in New York, I took a picture of it, didn't I? There was a person, they were on the subway and they bought an air fryer. I just felt like a little burst of energy hitting me. Like
someone told me the other day that they do toast in their air fryer. You can do toast in it.
Yeah, I do everything in. I will bring it in soon. I will bring it.
You need to come in and demonstrate.
I will come in. I will
the versatility.
Because I want this to be. I want this to be a bit like one of those late night shopping channels.
Air fryer fan TV.
That could be better than football.
Air fryer
let's
fan
do that.
TV.
I'm happy to do that. Just ditch the football thing. Forget about Everton. Let's just do products.
Yeah. So we're just going to do products. That's all we're going to do.
One of the other things. We're
just going to do products
before we finish is just off the back of Dave's radiator shock. You quite give me a little bit of insight into you being Bill. You contemplated coming into the studio today, commando.
No,
out of necessity.
The other day.
Okay, out of necessity. Yeah. It was got no bills because they're not dry because it's the winter.
You can't
they haven't got them on
you
the
can't put the tumble dryer on. We're not made of money.
No.
We aren't EFL podcast rich.
No,
you know what I mean?
You're not Dublin. They're on Dublin. No. Homes under a hammer and all that.
No. So they'd been washed, you know, and they were they were taking a little bit of time to dry. I needed them.
Yeah.
So I threw them in the microwave for 2 minutes.
You microwave your bills.
And I don't really use my microwave for anything else because of my air fryer now.
Right. You so
just to confirm, you microwaved your own underpants.
Yes. So I threw them in, and it's double bubble because they were dry.
Yeah.
And I was all warm and toasty down below.
That's a good idea.
And this was during the cold snap. So it was just double bubble.
Is it? Do you think that's more efficient than a tumble dryer?
Yeah, much more efficient. 2 minutes.
Just asking you.
It's like the air fryer. It's the equivalent of the air fryer though, because air fryer, you throw things in there in the oven setting, and you'll get them cooked in like chips in like 5 minutes rather than 15.
Okay.
And it's the same with the boxer shorts. So instead of going in a tumble dryer for maybe half an hour in that whatever magic it works, I don't know. I don't understand tumble dryers. You throw them in the microwave. You get the ding, you throw them on, they're nice and toasty, double bubble, everyone's a winner, except for those big companies who are trying to take down money off us for
so if you're going to microwave your bills to dry them, just be careful that they're not too hot. You wouldn't want to get, you know.
No, you get a warm ding then, wouldn't you?
Like that, you would get a warm ding, David.
Also, don't put your tea in straight after that.
No, let it play out.
No. It's like that story I heard over Christmas. Don't know if anyone's seen this very quickly. It was that story of a family realising that the sick bowl was also the bowl that the family used to make like cakes and bread and stuff. And it was like this realisation, and it went a little bit viral, this story, as people woke up to their childhood of going, oh yeah, that's our sick bowl doubled up as.
But remember, just in them days, people weren't as sick, right? Because they were thrown up in it, just a quick wash. You were getting the extra antibodies, you were surviving. Everything's sterile now.
So what you're saying is my bollocks will never get sick?
Hey, listen, can I just leave you with something which might be a merchandising idea? Because obviously I know that, Toffee TV has branched into merchandising, T-shirts, merchandising, whatever. We sported some of it on there. It's tremendous quality and tremendous value as well. Like I'm happy to say.
Thank you.
If you brought out some Toffee TV microwavable underpants, right? You could call them like ding dong bills, right? Because they go in there. You get Christmas. The ding, stick them on there, warm ding dong. Happy days.
That very seasonal, Dave, but I like that.
That is a way to finish the pod.
That's the way to finish.
That's the way to finish.
Ding dong bills, happy bollocks, everyone is a winner.
We can call them happy bollocks. That's a better name. Happy bollocks.
Happy bollocks.
There you go. God, we're throwing them all out here. Incredible. Listen, gentlemen, absolutely superb as normal. Let's hope. Well, listen, next week we can talk about Everton's win at Old Trafford. Now the world is a much better
free weekend now.
But if we go out, there'll be a free weekend.
And if we go out, we've got another free weekend at the end of the month.
Free Saturday and Sundays in January.
Come on.
Incredible. Boys, lovely to speak to you. Take care. Have a good week. Fellas. Be in touch. See you later,
boys.
Bye-bye. There you go. Make sure you give the video a thumbs up. Subscribe if you haven't. If you want to join Toffee TV Premier, the link is in the description. And the QR code is on the screen now. Not much good to you if you're listening on a podcast, but you can still find those links. Thanks for listening. See you later. Bye-bye.